What is up, guys? Welcome to another video. That Geeky guy here, and today we'll be looking at a tier list of the current heroes and basically try to attempt to rank them based on their competitive viability so that you guys might be able to choose the deck that you want for ProQuest. Of course, you don't want to actually focus too much on this tier list. You want to be able to observe your local meta and choose your hero from there. So what you want to do is take this tier list as a general overview of the current meta. So I did make a poll to asking you guys if you want to see a tier list video, and you did say you want. I did make another poll to ask whether you think tier lists are something important, and you guys do think so. So here we go. So there are four roles here: competitive, viable, somewhat viable, and also not viable. So we're gonna go through each of that and actually rank them. So starting with Kaino. So Kaino did get some good cards from Everfest, namely Aether Wildfire. So that's a good card, but I still believe Kaino will fare better in Blitz. He's one of the top heroes to be going into Blitz, but in CC, because Bravo, star of the show, is currently in the format, so it's gonna be hard for Kaino players to be able to opt and set their big turns. And also in CC, Kaino is already quite handicapped with only 330 life. With Bravo in the scene, he's gonna just whack Kaino in a few rounds. So a special thanks to Juan, our local wizard player, for actually giving some insight on this one. So I'm not going to say Kaino is really bad. I'm going to put him in somewhat viable. So it really depends on matchup. So against certain matchup, they are a bit greedy. And if your local scene is not running a lot of Naurud, you might be able to pull this off. I used to place Kaino in the not viable role, but I still think Kaino has potential. So we're going to leave him there. Next, we have Dash. So Dash did get some card. Unfortunately, I feel like Dash she's a bit left out in terms of the cards that she get. She don't even have her own equipment from Everfest, so that's pretty sad. Maybe she has to wait for another, I'm guessing another maybe another set release also. So for now, I'm gonna put her in somewhat viable, so it really depends on matchup. So if you see there's a lot of Dorindia running around in your local scene, Dash might be good. Just go for the gun build and stuff. So next, we are looking at Azelia. So Azelia is really looking really hopeful after the release of Everfest. So if you're going into ProQuest, bringing Azelia in, you might have stand some chance. I still think she's pretty good. I will put her in the viable slot just because of some good cards that she have, namely Fatigue Shot. I think Fatigue Shot, the one that actually halves your attack damage, I think that's a pretty good arrow. So but I still think Lexi would be a superior choice compared to Azelia just because of those Frostbite tokens. So Frostbite tokens really slows down a lot some of the aggro decks. So Azelia is gonna be in the viable zone, but we're gonna still arrange them based on how viable they are in a certain role. So for example, Dash, I would say is a bit better than Kaino, so I'm gonna put her right there. Next, we are looking at Viscera, Runeblood. So interestingly, Viscera did really well in certain ProQuest this past weekend. So Viscera is going to be really competitive. So depending on matchups, he's able to actually switch between OTK and also mid-range, or even going aggressive. So that's really interesting about those Viscera lists floating around. OTK does really well against the Bravo, star of the show. So that's really something to look upon. A bunch of Viscera did make it into top 8. So you guys, if are interested in those Viscera lists, you might want to take a look at their deck list. Next, we have Prism. Prism, I believe, is still very competitive, more competitive than Viscera if you look at the top 8 recently. Globally, so there are still a few countries that haven't had their ProQuest, but so with Bravo running around, Prism is able to actually set up a few auras, and with her new zero cost aura, so this is more possible. So I'm gonna put her in the competitive zone. She still has access to soul shield and stuff to stop all those dominating attacks. So I'm gonna put her in the competitive tier. Next, we are looking at Sir Bolton, the Breaker of Dawn. So unfortunately, I think Bolton has potential. The thing is, there are not many people actually playing him. He's kind of under the radar now, but I think he's very much viable with as long as he can pull off his Illumina turns. So it's gonna be pretty devastating for the opposing hero. I'm gonna put him in the viable role just because I haven't seen much of gameplay of him, but if he's able to pull off the Lumina turn, the chances of him winning is pretty huge. Next, we have Chain. Chain is actually a competitive hero, believe it or not. People just not willing to experiment much with him. Depending on countries though, I've seen Chain done really well in New Zealand, I believe. He's doing really well. In Australia, he's doing really well, but I think the States don't really play him. If you guys are interested in a chain list, you can actually check out Tariq Patel's article on Channel Fireball, where he talked about chain with one of the local chain player in the US. So he is definitely a competitive hero, a very scary one at that. So to beat Chain, you either out aggro him before he creates too much soul shackle, or you either try to gas him out. Next, we are looking at Labia. So unfortunately, people are still not really I would say not really confident, or does not have the confidence in playing Labia. So, but I still think she needs to be explored more. I'm gonna put her in a not viable tier for now, because I don't see much people running her. We need more matchup and need more data in order to actually have. But we do have one local player, which is my team captain. Devin actually runs this, and he runs it really well. He's one of the best Labia player that I know. There's also a YouTube channel that actually talks about Labia a lot. And so I think she does have potential. I'm gonna put her right in front of Dash actually, instead of not viable, because I think she does have potential, and she does have matchups. She can either go really slow by swinging her club, or she can lower the enemy's health just enough so that she can pull off her big turns with Massacre. So that's really scary. She still has access to those brute cards, and she has access to the Carrion Husk. So don't forget about that. Next, we are looking at Dorindia. Unfortunately for Dori, she's fallen out of favor recently, so pretty sad about that. I do like the hero very much, but there are better choices to be ran. Because what's scary about Dorindia is her Dawnblade counters, but in terms of aggro matchup these days, Dorindia instead has to throw away her hand in order to block those damage, or she has to compensate for the Frostbite tokens being thrown at her way by Oldtime and Lexi's. So I'm gonna put her in a somewhat viable right in front of Labia. Reiner is actually pretty good just because of the Intimidate. Usually the game plan, the basic game plan is just to club your enemy down to low enough health, and then just whack them really hard with Intimidate, Massacre, Alpha, Rampage, and those stuff. I'm gonna put him right in front of Bolton because I believe Reiner is really scary. And then Bravo is definitely a competitive hero. Always has been, I think, just because of his ability to dominate, and Spinal Crush, access to Crippling Crush is really scary. So he's gonna be a competitive hero for sure. Next, we are looking at Katsu. Unfortunately for Katsu, I'm gonna put him in a not viable list. I love Katsu so much, but still, it's just that there are too many scary heroes running around. With Katsu's ability to adapt and flexible deck list, when you try to build the deck list to kind of handle a group of heroes, you're gonna lose to the other group. So it's a scary time to be a Katsu. I'm going to put him for not viable for now, but I might be wrong. but I believe he still has potential. I did see one Katsu in the top 8 this weekend, so it's really interesting to see how this goes. Olheim is definitely a competitive hero just because of his massive defensive capabilities and open ult, so that's really scary. I'm gonna put him kind of competitive, but he's more of a control hero if you're kind of into those type of things. Next, we are looking at Bryan. Bryan is still a competitive hero, not as good as she used to be because of the nerf on the Earth tokens. So she still does struggle against certain huge attacks from the opposing heroes such as Bravo, Spinal Crush, Crippling Crush, things like that. But she does really well against Prism. And if she can get her mountain really early on, she can even handle Bravo, the star of the show, and she can even beat some of her worst matchups. So as long as you can get the mountain in play, so that's the condition she has to meet. I'm gonna put her right behind Bravo. And then we are looking at Lexi. Lexi is another deck which I think is super viable, but due to her nature of being a ranger, ranger issues, so she is still viable. So depending on your local meta, if you see a lot of aggressive deck running around, you might want to run a Lexi just to annoy them with card discarding effect, fatigue shots, and even frostbite tokens. Next, we are looking at Bravo, star of the show, which is the final hero. He's definitely a scary hero to beat. So I'm gonna put him right in front of Prism actually, because of his he has better matchups against most of the heroes. So as long as he can fuse and stuff, which he can pull off quite consistently, surprisingly, even though it requires 3 elements. Fuse, Dominate +2, Oaken Old. Fuse, Dominate +2 for Crippling Crush is really scary because he's Bravo. He has to access to those specialization. So that's pretty much it, guys. That's the tier list. Let me know what you guys think down in comments below. Do you agree with this tier list? If you think so, what do you think I should swap around? Maybe you think Olheim should be in a viable role, or you think Katsu should be in the competitive role. Do let me know. I'm very interested to hear what you guys have to say. And thank you very much for watching, guys, and see you guys in the next one. Peace out.